Hi, I'm Shah Asfaq. I'm a PGY3 emergency medicine residency here at my Monty's Medical Center. And I'll be giving a talk on personal finances today. So, like Dr. Motov said, this all started with a morning report, and many people were impressed by the morning report, so they asked me to expand on it. So we'll be covering a variety of topics today, but I really want you to not be overwhelmed. There's a lot of topics here. Personal finances may seem like a vast subject, but it's really very simple when it's broken down into its key components. So today, I'm not going to give you a get-rich-quick scheme. Those are all very, very poor. So try to avoid those if anybody tries to give you a get-rich-quick scheme. But I'm going to basically explain why you should actually care about your finances. And maybe today we'll begin our journey towards learning a little bit more about your own personal finances at different stages of your life, and know that you can actually be financially successful without a financial advisor. And today, one of the most important objectives is we're going to learn who to actually avoid when we're talking about our finances. So there's a statement: I'm a physician, I'm automatically going to be rich, I'm automatically going to have lots of money as long as I'm a good doctor. Is this true or false? And obviously this is a false statement. Doctors are among the most financially illiterate people and illiterate professionals, so they're very easy prey for salesmen. So I don't know if you watched the movie Wolf of Wall Street, but I don't know if you remember at the beginning when he moved to Long Island and started trying to take advantage of people. If you look back at history, doctors were one of his actually main targets of people who he tried to take advantage of. So you have to be very careful of where you get your information. So there's a big squeeze going on in university and medical schools. Tuitions are just increasing and increasing, and this has to do with government loans are just being freely given, so there's a bubble going to happen. There's probably going to be a crash sometime soon. There's worsening loan terms and loan rates going on. There's also increasing paperwork, malpractice, and there's also decreasing reimbursement. So basically what I'm saying is the golden age of medicine is over. Back in the 90s and early 2000s maybe, when doctors could just be doctors and get rich. So maybe it's all doom and gloom, but actually it's not, as long as you educate yourself. So many people actually ask me why I should actually care about money. You know, maybe I'm going into this purely for the medicine side, but I want to just explain a few things. It's easy to forget, but you should know you are actually worth a lot of money. I had a friend who was a sniper in the military when I was in medical school, and he said that the only way he could get out of being a sniper was to become a physician. That's the only way he was actually going to be released from his sniper position. So the government actually values physicians more than they do some of their most elite trainees. So yeah, so you've actually given up your 20s, let's not forget, for medical school and residency, working 80 hours, reading over and over again, spending so many countless hours in the library when your friends have all gone out, started their lives, had children, lived a good life. And you start actually saving much, much later in life than everyone else. So you need to realize that lost time is actually lost money as well, and we'll get to that. And remember, you're a contributing member to society, and you do something that very few people know how to do, and you have an extremely valuable asset. You're among the most respected citizens in the country, and people look to you at times of an emergency. And at this point in your life, unfortunately, no one cares how far you can throw a ball or how high you can jump. We've kind of passed that point in our lives. And I know it's a stupid reason, but your patients all think you have money, so you might as well have money, right? So what if you really don't care? What if you went into medicine? I have a friend who's an intern, I'm not going to name him, but he went into medicine purely to treat patients. Well, if you want to go overseas, if you want to treat patients, and if that's all you want to do all the rest of your life, those kind of things cost money themselves. And if you have enough money through your financial resources, you can fund them yourself, actually. And finally, money is definitely not the most important thing in life, but mismanaging your money can make your life absolutely miserable. So a statement I like to hear is money matters, but we want it to matter less. And basically what I mean is you want to be financially independent and never have to worry about money for the rest of your life. So what piqued my interest, sometime around July, August, when we were third years, we started looking into contracts and everything like that. I saw all these terms, 401k, Roth, different kind of finances things, and I realized how stupid I was. I didn't know anything, and I heard people would blindly sign contracts or get lawyers to review them, and I thought why didn't I learn a little bit about this? This is something that was completely new and fascinating to me, so I thought, hey, I'll just do a little bit of learning. So a bold statement that I can tell you is you can become a millionaire by 40 as a physician, as long as you kind of went through the natural process of college, medical school, and didn't take too many years of a gap in between. You can try to brute force save your way, or you can try to do something and be smart with your money. And the key to doing this is rapidly converting your income into wealth. So what I mean by this is your money should actually be working for you. So let's just start in residency. And just a topic, is it taboo to actually talk about money in residency? I know some mentors are actually hesitant to talk about money with young physicians, so good advice is hard to come by, and the advice you actually get from many attendings can be poor. Our attendings are brilliant when it comes to medicine, but many attendings I've come to experience are financially illiterate and depend on what their friend has told them or what a financial advisor has told them. So maybe you should listen to your attending when it comes to medicine, but maybe not so much when it comes to money issues. But remember, your number one goal in residency is to become the best doctor ever. So talk about residency finances. Living in New York is really hard. You're not going to be able to save much. We basically live hand to mouth as residents, especially in New York City, one of the most expensive cities in the world. But there's some basic financial tidbits. Renting a residency for the vast majority of people is actually better than buying. So you can avoid fees from realtors, down payments, closing costs, taxes, maintenance, upkeep, etc., etc. And you're not throwing away money. That's the mantra that a lot of people have, and the American saying is like you're throwing away money by renting. You're actually paying for flexibility when you're renting, and you're paying for not having to deal with like basically BS that comes with having your own house. So another thing you want to have as a resident is buying high quality disability insurance. So you want to make sure your disability insurance is own occupation, specialty specific. And what that means is basically as ER doctors, let's say we broke our left hand, or our left hand got cut off and we can't use it the rest of our lives. You know, as ER doctors, we're required to do multiple procedures. But some insurance companies will say, hey, you went to medical school, you can still get an H&P, you can still work as a psychiatrist, but we know in medicine that's not going to happen. We're never going to get hired as psychiatrists. So what you want to get is a disability insurance that actually says, like, if you can't work as an ER doctor, you should get paid as you were an ER doctor. So some other things to consider, say you have children. I know some of us have children or are on their way, so just consider buying a term life insurance policy if somebody depends on you for your income. But do not buy a whole life insurance policy, and we'll get to that. I have a slide dedicated to that. And you want to start saving money in a Roth IRA. So basically, a Roth IRA is a retirement account that you can make with the government, which is for people making less than $114,000 a year, basically while we're residents, and we can contribute $5,500 per year. And you put after-tax money into it, let it grow, and the government can't tax it when it comes out. So I just threw out a term out there, Roth IRA, and this is where my confusion first started. All these words, Roth IRA, traditional IRA, 401k, 403b, and 529. These are all just random terms and different types of retirement accounts and different types of balancing accounts. But just know that they're named after where they are, just in a government bill or something like that. But you can think of them as suitcases that you carry with you on your journey to finishing retirement. So you get to pick what you put into each of these suitcases, and each of these suitcases has a different size and a different advantage/disadvantage. Say you loved Apple and you thought their stock is the best thing in the world, and you think Apple is going to become the supreme leader of everything, so you think their stock is going to explode. So you can decide to take Apple stock and put it into one of your suitcases. So on the journey to retirement, when you're trying to finish, what these different types of retirement accounts actually have their advantages with are whether you pay taxes up front or whether you pay taxes at the end. So you either pay taxes at the beginning before the growth has happened, or you pay taxes at the end after the money has grown. So there's a couple of general differences between a Roth IRA and a 401k. So those are the two major ones that you'll hear about throughout your journey. So with a Roth IRA, you'll put money in after paying taxes on it, and when you take it out, you don't pay money you don't pay taxes on it when you take the money out. With a 401k, you put money in before you're paying taxes on it, and with a 401k, when you take it out, after it's grown, you pay taxes on it. Obviously, these things have different advantages and disadvantages, but but the issue is each of these has their own limited contributions. Each of them has a limit to what you can contribute to it, and it depends on what kind of employee you are, whether you're an independent contractor, an employee, or a government worker. That also limits what kind of retirement plans you're going to have available to you. So just going back to residency, just some general tidbits: try to rent, not buy. Make sure you get good disability insurance. Buy term life insurance, not whole life, and contribute to a Roth IRA if you have money left over. It's really not much to do. It's very simple. Just learn to be a badass doctor. And then finally, you get to attending ship, and you have lots of money. It's raining down. You're having a good time. And I have some good news to tell you guys. Sometime at the end of July, since we're all third years here, somebody's going to hand you a check for $15,000 to $45,000, and it's going to be for many of us, it's the most money we'll ever have given to us at once. And it's a good feeling, but what you do with that first check will actually most likely predict your financial future for the rest of your lives. Do you pay off credit card debt? Do you put a down payment on a Porsche? Do you put the money towards retirement? Or do you go on a shopping spree and treat yourself? Or do you begin paying down student loans? So I want you to think of your money as a waterfall, where you learn to fund each step of the way. And I just put up an example waterfall here, and this PowerPoint will be made available to you guys. So you want to order your priorities with your money waterfall. So the number one thing you want to do is create an emergency fund. Say you live in Brooklyn, and you commute to New Jersey as a job. So the issue is, say you are dependent on a car for that. Well, what happens if your car just breaks down one day and you need to get to work the next day? Will you have the money to go out and rent a car? Are your credit cards all maxed out? So you want to create an emergency fund. And different people have different rules for emergency funds, but at least set aside an amount of money that you know you can rely on if something happens to you. I know I had a personal friend of mine who had a funeral for his father, and he didn't even have the money to come up with a funeral, and he had a loan for that, and he had to pay the interest on top of that. But if you have an emergency fund, hopefully nothing bad will happen, or nothing that you cannot take care of immediately will happen. You want to contribute to your 401k up to the employer match also. So why do I say up to the employer match? Basically, when you work at certain companies, they'll say, if you contribute $5,000 to your retirement, we will match that $5,000. And you basically double the amount of money that you can get. And it's free money. It's the easiest money you'll ever get in your entire life. The next step to do is start paying off your high interest debt. And that's basically debt that's defined as greater than 8%. And then after that, you want to maximize your retirement plans. And the best retirement plan probably for us will be the 401k. Then after that, you can start do whatever you want actually. After that, you can start saving for a down payment. You can pay down moderate interest debt, which is 4 to 8%. You can learn to save for your kids' college. You can begin other investments if you're interested in it, or you can go out and treat yourself. But the most important thing is hitting these 4 priorities first. So most importantly, be modest and learn to live modestly. You want to grow into your salary, but never grow into it completely. And you want to deploy your income according to your priorities, either dream house, debts, nest eggs, or learning to treat yourself. So make sure you plan for retirement. Spending a little time now with a financial calculator can save you much pain in the future. And you want to develop a plan early on, or else you'll realize that you're in trouble before it's too late. And I know physicians in their late 50s who are coming up upon retirement and then realizing oh man, I don't have enough to retire on, I'm gonna have to work an extra 10 years. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to work an extra 10 years. So some general rules for retirement. This number is flexible, but you can try to attempt to save 20% of your income for retirement, and it's very easily done. As ER physicians, I know will be making around, say, $300,000 a year. So 20% of that is about $60,000 a year, but that's going into a retirement account, and it'll have tax advantages to it. And you can live on $240,000 a year for the rest of the time, when the mean income for the American population is around $50,000. $240,000 is plenty to live on. And you can expect that money to grow, that $60,000 to grow at 3 to 7%, and that's after taxes, inflation, and other expenses associated with your retirement account. And a typical physician can actually retire on just 25 to 50% of your pre-retirement income. So say you're living on $250,000 a year before that, you can actually live on $25 to $50,000 when you get to retirement age. Just remember, you shouldn't have any more of your house payments when you retire. Student loans probably are done and paid off for. Maybe your kids' colleges are done and paid off for. And maybe other payments should be done and paid off for. And most physicians can retire on 25 to 50% of what they were making beforehand. So depending on what's your number, so you often hear what's my number? How much do I need to save for retirement? And a lot of people say $1 million because somewhere along the line in American culture, somebody said $1 million, it's a nice round number, and that's it. That's what I need to save up for. And I'm here to tell you the answer is wrong, wrong, wrong. So you need to figure it out based on your costs, your budgeting, and the type of lifestyle that you decide to live. Say you want to go live in the woods, in an RV for the rest of your life, then maybe $1 million is more than enough, or overkill even. Or say you want to travel most of your time, maybe you're going to need more money. So it all depends on the type of lifestyle. So how do you figure it out? So back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a study done called the Trinity Study. And what it did was take the entire U.S. stock market into the entire history of the U.S. stock market into account. And what it did was account the Great Depression, World War I, II, Vietnam, Korean War, Iraq, Afghanistan, every recession, oil crisis, global uprisings, and plus one catastrophic event that's just not known. And they adjusted for inflation. And what they came up with was the 4% rule. So the 4% rule, it helps you figure out what you need to retire on, and it helps you figure out what you need to save basically to retire on. So basically, think of all your expenses for a year. You figure out your expenses for a year and multiply that number by 25, and that's how much money you'll need to save. That'll sustain you for the rest of your life. So say you need to live on $100,000 a year, which is plenty of money as a retiree, and it's very easily doable. So what you'll do is get 125. What you'll do is get 100 and multiply that by 25, and you'll figure out you'll need $2.5 million to save up in your retirement accounts, and you'll never need to save up more than that as long as you live on $100,000 a year. So it sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. And the reason for that is because there's something called compound interest. And there's a famous quote from Albert Einstein is, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. So say you make $300,000 a year. I use that number because it's nice and round. So you save 20% and $60,000 per year in my retirement accounts. So what will my end result be? So I'm going to pull up a financial calculator here. Just give me 1 second. And you'll see how well compound interest can actually work for you guys. Say you didn't get to save a single penny in residency, and you want to save $60,000 per year, so that's $5,000 a month. And you have a rate of about 5%, which is the average between the 3 to 7%. And say you save for 30 years, and you decide to retire at age 60. What your money will actually grow into is $4.1 million. You only put in $1.8 million, but your money actually grew to $4.1 million. At the 10-year mark, your money should actually be, the money you're earning from your compound interest should actually be half of what you're putting in. At the 20-year mark, it should be the equivalent of what you're putting in. And by 30 years, your money has greatly outgrown what you're putting in. So at one point along this timeline, you actually don't need to contribute anymore, and that's the point where you can actually retire. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the value of money. So your biggest asset as a young physician is actually time. So the more time you can give your money to grow and work, the more you can actually earn. And that's what the most important thing is, to start saving early. So there's a story of two savers where they kind of say you earned 12% instead of the 5%. I always go on conservative numbers. And you started saving $1,800 a year from age 18 to 25 versus, or if you start at age 26 and save until you retire, you can see the person that started just saving a little bit early and let their money grow and stop saving for the rest of their life actually out-earns the person who started saving later in their life by about $450,000. And it's all because you let time work for you. And this is why I keep stressing to you that you should start saving early. So some general tips on your portfolio, what you should be saving in. You should broadly diversify. Don't invest in all Apple stocks unless you absolutely believe Apple is everything. You want to keep your costs low because your costs are going to be a drag on your compound interest. They're going to slow down your compound interest. You want to think of your retirement savings as a racehorse, and you're trying to let that racehorse go as fast as possible in as much time as possible. So, but the more cost you have, the slower your racehorse is going to be. And you want to consider whether you want a passively managed account or whether you want an actively managed account. Most studies have shown that passively managed, meaning like you invest and save and hold, rather than actively managed, like day traders, you can think of them, like buy, sell, buy, sell. Passively managed actually outgrows an actively managed salesman. And you want to learn what's your risk tolerance. You want to be appropriately risky, whether you have stocks and bonds. Bonds are basically loans, is how I like to think of them, where you're earning interest back. You can make this loan to the government, to other companies, and they're usually not risky. But then stocks are much level. So the rule of thumb is your age should be equal to the percent in bonds. So say I'm 30 years old, I should have 70% stocks and 30% bonds. This decreases like the volatility of your portfolio. So basically, just a summary of your attending life: start saving early and let time work for you. Create an emergency fund, maximize your retirement, and start paying off high interest debt. Remember, at greater than 8%, and enjoy life. You can deploy the income however you want to after that. But there are some bumps along the way. Beware of financial advisors and insurance salesmen. These are wolves in sheep's clothing over here. So you don't want to be the fool. So many financial tasks are very easy and very profitable to do at your home by yourself, and many doctors don't even use financial advisors. So most who call themselves financial advisors, quote unquote, are actually commission brokers, salesmen, and insurance salesmen in disguise. And if they try to sell you on whole life insurance, ding, 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 red buzzer, stay away. And I know I keep harping on whole life insurance because I hate it. And I'll tell you why. I had two good friends actually try to sell me on whole life insurance, and then I understood why it's not a good product, and I'll explain to you now. So be careful of the quote-unquote advisor that tries to sell you on this. So there's two types of life insurance. There's term life and there's whole life. So if term life does its job as an insurance. If you die before age X, your spouse will get an amount of money. It's cheap and it's very affordable and it does its job. For about maybe even $100 a month to $200 a month, you can get a very good whole life insurance policy that'll cover you the rest of your life. Or, I'm sorry, until a certain age. But whole life insurance, what it says is no matter when you die, your spouse gets that money. So even if you die at 100 years old, the whole life insurance will pay out. But the issue with whole life insurance is that it's actually 5 to 10 times more expensive than term life insurance. So say I buy a policy that's $200 a month for term life, that comparable whole life insurance policy will probably be $2,000 a month. So what it does is it wastes the time value of money. So your compound interest can accumulate. So what most people who actually buy whole life insurance, after realizing that it's a poor product, actually quit paying into it, and you've wasted like all that money. That's why I'm trying to prevent you guys from buying whole life insurance. So the best strategy would actually just be buy term and invest the difference. So then this is the reason why they try to sell it to you. So salesmen actually get to keep the entire first year premium that you pay for themselves. So imagine a term life or an insurance salesman. They're trying to sell you an insurance policy. So they either have the option of trying to sell you a term life or a whole life insurance policy. With a term life insurance policy, they'll get, if it's $200 a month, they'll get to keep $2,400 a year. But with a whole life insurance policy, they'll get to keep $24,000 a year. That's why they'll try to sell you on this. And I've had friends who tried to sell me on this, and when I realized why they were trying to do this, they weren't as good friends anymore. So whole life insurance is a product that is meant to be sold. It is never meant to actually be bought. So if you're actually comparing and you do the analysis, you'll realize like this was never actually a good product. But say you still want an advisor, which is a perfectly reasonable and fine thing to do. What you need to make sure you understand is how your advisor is paid. Remember, every money that goes out of your pocket is money, all the money that goes out of your pockets to pay an advisor is money that's coming out of your retirement account at the end. So you want to hire a fee-only advisor. You never want to let them take a percentage of your assets. That's the worst way to pay them. So a decent amount to pay somebody is $1,000 to $5,000 a year, depending on how much money you have to save. So $1,000 a year for us newly starting attendings is probably a very reasonable amount to pay somebody. But the issue is some people will say, I'll take a percent of your money every year from here until you retire. The issue with that is, like, it may seem like a good deal at the very beginning, but say you retire with $2.5 million. You know, 1% of that is $25,000 a year toward the end that you'll be paying that person, which is a lot more money toward the end than you would ever pay somebody for financial advice, paying a financial advisor. And once you do some reading and actually learn what they do, you'll realize how ridiculous it is that you'll be paying somebody $25,000 a year when really they do a few clicks on a computer per year and don't really do much anything else. So you want to learn to protect yourself. It's another good thing. So you want to make sure, like I said, you want to make sure you're going to get good disability insurance and make sure it's own occupation, specialty specific. And you want to buy term life insurance, never whole life insurance. And you want to make sure your home is properly titled. say you are married and somebody tries to sue you, it's very, very rare that somebody will come after your home, but you know, it is a possibility. We're physicians, we have big targets on our back. You want to make sure you and your spouse are both listed so that it protects your house as well. And you want to maximize your retirement accounts as well, because retirement accounts cannot be, somebody that's suing you for malpractice cannot come after your retirement accounts. They're protected by mostly all the states. And you want to learn what kind of malpractice your employer actually provides you. There's different kinds, tail with not tail. You want to learn all this and look into it. And maybe when you get closer to retirement age, or if you have children, you want to do some future estate planning. So sit down, create a plan, follow the plan, and you can easily have a 7-figure net worth. And you'll have freedom from financial worry, hopefully. You can do your dream job, whether it's to make PowerPoint presentations all day, or work in the ER, or work on pain, or go out and sit on a beach, or live on an island, and you can learn to transition out of medicine and everything will be good. Hopefully, as long as you stick with the plan. So further reading, I know I've harped on this guy so much, but he's like the way I actually came about to learn so much, the white coat investor, and I would give most of the credit for this PowerPoint presentation to him. It's the best beginner book for learning about finances, and it actually starts in medical school, residency, attendinghood, and even into retirement. And he has a blog, but I highly recommend you start with the book first, because it breaks down all the basics, and it breaks down into step by step. And you want to don't be overwhelmed. It's not a topic that is out of your reach. You just can spend a few hours with it. This book took me one night in the Piqued to read. I keep saying that. And I kind of like understood it, and I read it a second time, and then I felt like I actually had it down. And it's basically like sit down once, you read it, sit down again, then you'll have it down. And you just create a plan and stick with it, and hopefully everything will be okay. And I know I saw some hands raised up. Sabrina, I think you had a question. Any other questions?
Good job.
There is no, it's phenomenal. It is.
So just summarize one last thing.
As I said,
just wait. I'm almost done. So I just wanted to summarize.
No, thank you, Shah.
You should learn the basics of finances, because mismanaging them can actually lead to a terrible time. And as an attending, learn to live a modest lifestyle and just save a percentage each paycheck. So you want to pay yourself with this retirement account before you pay out all other debts. And learn to protect yourself from the wolves, the salesmen, the financial advisors, and create a plan to stick with it, and soon you can retire on a nice, beautiful island and never have to work here or a Southside shift again. All right, that's it.